They say you can't miss something you never had. They are wrong. We felt the emptiness in our bones. It was a hollow ache in the center of our culture, a ghost limb for a history we couldn't remember. The Vex, our masters, were thorough. They scoured our worlds and our minds. Our greatest triumphs were turned to whispers. Our heroes became nameless dust. Our story was not rewritten. It was erased. Every species in the Vex Dominion had a function. The Cathar were miners. The Gelnari were artisans. We were scavengers. We picked through the bones of dead civilizations. Civilizations the Vex had broken long before us. We were recyclers of galactic ruin. Our lives were spent on shattered moons and derelict stations. We sorted scrap, stripped wires, and harvested power cells. All for the glory of the Vex Empire. They left us with nothing of our own. No art, no songs, no stories. But they made one mistake. In their arrogance, they assumed all our worlds were known. They missed one. A tiny rock hidden in a forgotten nebula. A place not on any of their star charts. On that rock, buried under miles of irradiated ice, something waited. A single silent testament to what we once were. A truth buried in a place they never thought to look. I was part of a scrap crew on a worthless moon. The official designation was RX-734. We called it the Cinder. It was a miserable place. The dust tasted like rust and failure. We were salvaging a crashed Vex freighter, a standard job, boring and dirty. During a plasma storm, I took shelter in a deep cave system. The storm howled outside, shaking the very rock. My scanner picked up a strange energy signature. It was faint, almost lost in the storm's noise. It wasn't Vex technology. It was too clean, too structured. Curiosity is a dangerous trait for a scavenger. It gets you noticed. But the ache of our lost past was stronger than my fear. I followed the signal deeper into the caves, deeper than anyone had ever gone. The signal led me to a wall of solid rock, but the energy was on the other side, stronger now. I used my cutting torch, a tool for salvage. I carved a hole in the stone. It took hours. The storm outside died down. The silence that followed was more unnerving. I broke through into a small chamber. It was not natural. The walls were smooth, metallic. And in the center, on a simple pedestal, sat a small box. It was made of a dark, unblemished metal. No seams, no buttons, no lights. It was cold to the touch. The energy came from within it. I picked it up. It felt heavy with meaning, with age. I spent a day trying to open it. I used every tool I had. Nothing worked. It was a perfect, frustrating puzzle. In a moment of desperation, I spoke to it. A whisper in the dark. "What are you?" The box chimed. A soft, clear tone that cut through the silence. Light bloomed across its surface. It formed a word I had never seen. I didn't know how I could read it. The knowledge was just there, planted in my mind. The word was humanity. Then it spoke. A voice, clear and strong. It was not the guttural language of the Vex. It was a melody. It whispered a name not heard for 1,000 years. The name was Saul. The box, the archive, projected a map, a 3-dimensional chart of the stars. It showed our current location, and it showed a destination. A point deep inside the Veil Nebula, a place Vex patrols avoided. The nebula was a graveyard of ships and radiation. The Masters called it a navigation hazard. The archive called it a sanctuary. The name Saul pulsed at the heart of that map. Returning to my crew was a risk. Trust was a rare commodity. But I couldn't do this alone. I showed the archive to my oldest friend, Jax. He was a pilot, the best I knew. He had a healthy fear of the Vex. When he saw the map, he saw a death sentence. He told me I was crazy. He said the nebula would kill us. He said the Vex would find us. I asked him to hold the archive. He hesitated. Then his fingers brushed against the metal. The box chimed for him, just as it had for me. It showed him the word. It whispered the name. I saw the change in his eyes. The same fire that now burned in me. The hollow ache was replaced by a spark. A terrifying, wonderful spark of purpose. We were not just scavengers. We were something more. We were humanity. We gathered a small crew, 5 of us in total. We stole a small transport ship, the kind used for hauling scrap. We filled its tanks with fuel. We packed what little we had. We told no one where we were going. We slipped away in the shadow of a gas giant, our little ship against the endless dark. We were chasing a ghost, a whisper from a forgotten age. We flew toward the Veil Nebula. Toward Sol, the journey was a long one. The nebula loomed larger every day, a vast cloud of swirling gas and dust. It was beautiful and terrifying. Vex patrols skirted its edges. They never ventured inside. Our small ship plunged into the cloud. The sensors screamed. Radiation flooded our screens. Debris fields appeared without warning. Twisted husks of ancient vessels, remnants of some long-forgotten war. Jax was a master at the controls. He weaved through the wreckage with grace. For weeks, we saw nothing but chaos. The archive was our only guide. Its signal was a steady pulse, a heartbeat in the darkness. It led us deeper into the storm, into the graveyard of 1,000 ships. The radiation should have killed us. The debris should have torn us apart. But something protected this region, some anomaly the Vex had never understood. Then we saw it. The signal grew strong. The chaos of the nebula gave way to order. The debris was not random here. It was arranged, like markers on a path. And at the end of that path, they waited. An entire fleet. Silent and dark, drifting in perfect formation. Dozens of ships, from small fighters to massive carriers. They were sleek and angular, utterly alien to Vex design. They were ours. The sheer scale was impossible. We drifted past cruisers longer than mountains. We saw carriers with flight decks that could hold our entire scrap town. They were covered in nebula dust, scarred from ancient battles. But they were not derelict. They were sleeping, a fleet of giants waiting for a pilot's touch. At the center of the formation was the largest ship of all, a true titan of a vessel. The archive pulsed faster. Its light pointed to the flagship. Its name appeared in my mind. The Vengeance. It was a promise. Our little transport felt like a fly next to a titan. We docked at an exterior airlock. It was a strange feeling, walking onto a ship built by our own forgotten ancestors. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss. The air inside was stale but breathable. Emergency lights flickered on as we entered. They cast long shadows down silent corridors. It was a tomb, a city of ghosts. The ship was pristine, maintained by automated systems for 1,000 years. We made our way to the bridge. The journey took over an hour. We walked through vast hangars. We saw rows of fighters covered in dust cloths. We passed crew quarters with beds neatly made. It was as if the crew had vanished mid-sentence. On the bridge, the view was breathtaking. A panoramic window showed the entire sleeping fleet. The nebula swirled outside like a painted curtain. The captain's chair sat before the main console. It looked like a throne. The archive pulsed in my hands. I placed it on a recessed slot in the armrest. It fit perfectly. The ship came alive. Not with a roar, but with a hum. A deep, resonant power that vibrated through the deck. Screens flickered on one by one. They displayed the symbol from the archive. The symbol of humanity. Then a voice filled the bridge. A calm, synthesized intelligence. "Primary systems online. Welcome back, Commander." We were just scavengers. We knew how to strip a ship, not command it. But the ship knew us. The archive had integrated with its systems. It knew our language. It seemed to know our intent. The artificial intelligence guided us. It showed us the status of the fleet. All ships were dormant but functional, waiting for a single command to awaken. Jack sat at the pilot station. His hands hovered over the controls. They were complex, but also intuitive, as if designed to be understood by his very instincts. He looked at me. His face was a mix of awe and terror. I looked at the rest of our crew. 5 nobodies from a forgotten race, standing on the bridge of a warship, a ship that could challenge the Vex. I nodded to Jax. "Wake them up." He pressed a single glowing rune. A command rippled out from our flagship. It washed over the sleeping armada. One by one, the ships answered. Lights bloomed across their hulls. Engine ports glowed with cold, blue fire. The ghosts of humanity were stirring. The silence of the nebula was broken by the hum of 1,000 engines. The giants of our past were awake, and they were ready for war. The power surge was immense, a wave of energy unlike anything the galaxy had seen in ages. We felt it as a vibration in our teeth, a song of power that had been silent for too long. For 1,000 years, the Vex had been the apex, the unchallenged masters of our reality. They thought they were the only power left. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Far away, on a throne world of polished obsidian, a tremor was felt. Not in the ground, but in the senses of the Vex, the Elder Ones. They were a species that saw the universe in energy. They read the flow of star science like a book. And a new, impossible chapter had just been written. On their primary command nexus, alarms blared. Not with sound, but with waves of pure dread. The Elder Ones themselves did not panic. They did not know the meaning of the word. They observed. An anomaly had appeared in the Veil Nebula, a forbidden zone on all their charts. An energy signature bloomed where none should exist. It was not a star going nova. It was not a natural phenomenon. It was controlled. It was structured. It was technology. And it was powerful. The Vex, Elder Ones, conferred in silent communion. Their thoughts were like cold, precise mathematics. The energy did not match any known species in their dominion. It was a rogue variable, an error in their great equation. Such errors had to be corrected, swiftly and without mercy. They summoned their finest instrument of correction, a hunter of singular purpose and renown. His name, translated, was the Inevitable. He was a Vex of immense power and arrogance. He had personally pacified 3 star systems. He had broken entire species on his own. He commanded a fleet of hunter-killers, fast, lethal ships designed for a single purpose: to find and to erase. The Inevitable stood before the Elder Ones. He received his command in a cascade of light and data. Find the source of the energy, identify it, and extinguish it. He did not question the order. He felt a flicker of something almost like excitement. A new challenge after centuries of routine dominance. A new species to catalog and then to break. He imagined them to be primitives, a lost colony that had stumbled upon some old artifact. They would be easy prey. His fleet departed the throne world within the hour, a spear of dark metal aimed at the heart of the Veil Nebula. The Master's gaze was now upon us. Back on the Vengeance, we felt their attention. The ship's long-range sensors picked up the energy burst of their departure. The artificial intelligence spoke, its voice calm as ever. Warning. A Vex fleet has altered course. Their trajectory is set for our position. It displayed their course on the main screen, a direct line from the Vex core worlds to us. Estimated time of arrival was 3 days. Fear returned. Cold and sharp, we had awoken the giants. But we had also poked the beast. The 5 of us looked at each other. We were scavengers, not soldiers. We had a fleet, but we had no idea how to use it. Jack spoke first. We can run. The nebula is big. We can lose them in the debris fields. It was the sensible option, the smart play for survival, the scavenger's choice. But then I looked at the screen. I saw the symbol of humanity. I felt the thrum of the ship beneath my feet. We hadn't come this far only to run. We hadn't awoken our past just to hide it again. Running was what we had always done. It was time for that to change. No, I said. The word felt heavy on my tongue. We don't run. We fight. There was a moment of shocked silence. Then, a slow smile spread across the face of our engineer, a woman named Lena. Fight? With what plan? We barely know how to turn these things on. She had a point. We were hopelessly out of our depth. She wasn't wrong to be skeptical. It was a good joke considering our situation. The AI interjected, its synthesized voice cutting through the tension. The plan is not the issue. The will to execute it is. The archives contain extensive tactical data. It was right. We had the ships. We had the history. We just needed the courage. They're sending a hunter, I said, thinking aloud. Hunters are arrogant. They expect their prey to be scared. They expect us to run. I looked at Jax. You said it yourself. They'll follow us into the debris fields. They'll think we're trying to hide. A plan began to form. A desperate, insane idea born from a scavenger's cunning. We won't hide. We'll set a trap. We would not engage their whole fleet. Not yet. We needed to send a message first. A message written in fire and wreckage. We would let their vanguard find us. A small patrol, sent ahead of the main force. We would let them think they had us cornered, deep in a canyon of twisted metal from an old war. And then, we would hit them. Not with the whole fleet, but with a handful of our restored fighters. A quick, brutal ambush. The galaxy had forgotten us. The Vex thought we were broken. This ambush would be our announcement. A declaration that we had returned. It was a gamble. A huge one. If we failed, our rebellion would be over before it began. But if we succeeded, we would light a fire that the Vex could never put out. The crew looked at me. The fear was still there. But now, it was mixed with something else. A dangerous, brilliant hope. We were done being scavengers. It was time to become hunters.